Welcome to Hustle to Hero, episode 4. We have the multimillionaire Samuel Leeds.
Some people get upset by it. You make lots of money, you greedy landlord. Ultimately, money follows value. And the more value I can add, the more money I'll make.
Motivation can last for that long. Discipline is whether you want to do it or not. Not many people want to do that.
If you've got the energy to go and cheer at a football match, then you should have that same energy to go and smack the phones, to go into estate agents, to go and champion yourself.
And we are going to be talking about why is environment more important than motivation? Why owning property prepares you for the downfall of fiat money, and the importance of creating your own economy.
See, some people that aren't rich, and I know that if I pulled them out of their crappy environment, and if they were living with me for a week, they'd suddenly absolutely shine. So you can take gold, you can take food, you can take cryptocurrency. If you've got properties, that house is still valuable. Somebody will still need to live in that house.
Your training programs that you do, a couple of people said it's all scams. How do you feel about that? Welcome to Hustle to Hero. We're on episode 4. We're with Samuel Leeds, one of the UK's leading property educators and trainers. Not only that, he has built hospitals in Uganda. He also does schools as well, and he teaches everything, different strategies, and he gives back to his community. So welcome, Samuel.
Thanks. It's great to be on. Congratulations on your podcast. I see you doing your thing. And
thank you.
Interviewing all these people. I see you on the gram, and I thought I'd jump in and be part of the action. So thanks for having me.
No worries. I just felt it just makes sense to have you on.
It makes perfect sense.
It makes absolute sense. And also, I've had a few questions in my DMs, so I want to ask you.
Anything. You can ask me anything.
Right, should we just jump in?
Yeah, of course.
All right, then. So, what makes your money? Property or your training?
Oh, that's a good question. So I make most of my money from property. I was in property for a decade before I started making any money on training and selling programs. But my training business is big, and I spend a lot of time on that. That's become a massive part of my life. And also, I think it's hard to even interlink the two, because my training business, we like deal source and co-deal source with the students. I buy a lot of deals from my students. So being part of the community within the property community, it's all kind of, it's beneficial because there's money on the back end. So someone might come to a £1 crash course. Okay, I'm not making money from that. But then there's other things, I've got the academy, I've got my deal sourcing business, I've got my joint ventures that I do. I've got my Samuel Leeds Finance, where I loan money out, make money from that.
Congratulations as well with the Islamic finance.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, it's great. So I think for me, I'm a property entrepreneur. Training's a tough gig. It's tough being a trainer. People think it's easy money, but it's not. I actually lost money the first 4 years of running training. But for me, I feel like, I open the doors and then people come in, and it's great being able to be part of and to be able to have founded the community that I have. And all my businesses make money. Yeah. That's my plan. And some people get upset by it. You make lots of money, you greedy landlord, or you sell lots of courses, but ultimately money follows value. And the more value I can add, whether that be to my tenants, whether that be through to my customers, my students, my investors, the more value I can add, the more money I'll make.
Yeah. I think that's, what, I've seen quite a few comments in the section about, but he makes loads of money and then he scams people. And I'm thinking, no, you're just amazing at what you do.
Yeah, so people that say that, though, they're not customers.
No.
They're people that just watch on the outside and have preconceived ideas. My actual customers, my actual investors, they're really happy. And I'm not perfect, but I try my best. I think I do a good job. And but you can't grow something big without getting criticised. So I'm always open to listen to people that have got. I even do debates. I'll sit down and say, "Come debate with me, anybody."
I saw that on YouTube.
I
saw that. And I thought.
Interesting though, not many people came. So a lot of people will talk big online, but then when they're sat in front of you and you say, "Okay, so what's the issue? What were you saying about me again?" They suddenly are not quite so strong.
They actually backpedal. Like, I've seen one of them when he said, well, it's your choice to be broke. And then he goes, well, not everyone's got access to internet. And I thought, homeless people have a phone. They all have access to internet. And he was very much like, but this, that and the other. And I thought, what you're saying is right, because I'm thinking, it's your mindset.
There's a lot of victimhoodness going on at the moment. It's like Gary Stevenson, I think his name is. I've watched him quite a lot, and he's very articulate and he's very smart. But his solution is, we're all screwed. We should just hope that the government do something about it. But that's being a victim right there. I believe in personal responsibility, and even if you are in a really bad situation, I'm from a pretty normal working class, background. I've been poorish, but there's people a lot they've been a lot worse than I am. But has someone ever been homeless before and then got out of it? Yes. So it's possible. So if it's possible for you. I think personal responsibility is the first step to change.
I think as well, when you're saying about like the generation, like victim as well, that I was speaking to John Lee about it as well, about people.
Yeah, I saw him. I was like, bro, where's your number? Let's get some. So, and thanks for letting us even sit down, man, and do some, because John's like, John, I remember him from back in the. So when I saw him was on your, that's why I needed to come on the show. I see you getting Tyrone ass. And I'm like, man, where's my invite? What's going on?
I was like, come on.
When I saw him there leaving, I'm like, man, I've been asking John for months if we can film him. He's never in the country, and then you invite me on, and I come in, and there's John. I'm like, bro, sit down with me for a couple minutes.
Do you know what? It's about the frequency. It's about the breath work, Samuel. It's about the breath work.
Good, man. It's all good, man. I respect it.
He was amazing. He's absolutely amazing. Oh, mate, incredible. Absolutely phenomenal. What he was talking about as well is about the mindset, about how people always like NPCs with Matrix and non-playing customers, basically. That's what they are. And they just play into this Matrix that we're in. We actually are in one. And how they never change their mindset, because it goes with discipline and consistency, not motivation, because motivation can last for that long, right?
Yeah.
Discipline is whether you want to do it or not. And not many people want to do that. Yeah. And we were saying that's the problem with society as well. Like they want to say, oh, I want to do this, I want to do that, but it's always short-lived.
Right.
Everything's got to have longevity.
Yeah.
Especially like what you've done. You've been like, over 15 years?
17 years.
17 years. Yeah. Like it hasn't taken you just like a small amount of time.
In fact, what's the date today? Do you know what? This is actually my 17th year anniversary.
Happy anniversary.
Of when I bought my first house.
Nice. Congratulations.
In Novell Road. It was 17 years ago. I think to this, I have to check that, but I think it was to this day.
Congratulations.
But I'll check that. But it was certainly this,
Yeah, but I still like, you think from 17 years ago to from where you come now.
Half my life.
It's hot, yeah.
I'm now 34.
That's amazing what you've done, and everything. Like I was saying to John, it's very much short-lived, and when it's like one small hurdle, they don't have that mindset to go on.
Right.
They don't at all.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. Like especially you're in property. How many problems have you encountered?
Oh, every day. I mean, planning permission is probably the most painful. There's some things that you don't have much control over, and if you don't have any control over it at all, like for instance, if the cost of wood goes up, you just have to just accept it. It's gone up. And then there's some things that you do have control over. Like, for instance, if you've got a bad tenant, okay, how are we going to get them out? I feel like I can control that. But the one thing that does my absolute nutting is things where, like planning permission, where you have kind of a little bit of control. You can kind of push the council, but you're 99.9% out of control and getting planning permission. And I hope that the new government, they did say, Keir Starmer said that they were going to reform the planning system. I'm not seeing it yet. I know it's early days, but they really do, because we're in a massive shortage of housing crisis. The answer to everything will be we need more houses. If we have more houses, rents will go down, property prices will go down, everything will become more affordable, and it will solve so many problems. But the problem is they're not making it easy for developers to build. They keep refusing my planning applications. Do you know how many sites I've got, land I've got, where the access is there, there's nice land, it's not in greenbelt or anything, and I'm trying to build, and they're just making my life a misery. And I think, there's loads of problems. Every day I face problems, but the definition of an entrepreneur is somebody that solves problems. So as Jim Rohn says, don't wish for less problems, wish for more skills. Don't wish it was easier, wish you were better. And I just find, every day, every year, I get a little bit better, and that's my journey.
So what do you do for your 1% change?
For my 1% change?
Yeah, so like there's a book that's like 1% change every day, like you do 1% change. Like when I'm speaking to John, he does like cold plunges, he does 30 minutes of exercise, like your non-negotiables for the day. So what do you do?
So how I get better every day is I ask for feedback from my investors, from my customers, from my staff. I welcome feedback. So I don't, there's a saying that says if it's not broken, don't fix it. I disagree with that. I think if you can make it better, make it better.
Yeah.
So I'll ask all my staff, what could we do better in the business? How could we make things slicker? I'll ask my tenants. I'll ask my customers. I'll ask my investors. How was the experience? Was there anything that could have been better? What did you like best? Oh, you liked that? I'll do more of that. What did you not like? Oh, maybe we could change that. And I'm just constantly improving all realms of my business a little bit. And if I look back 3-4 years ago, it's almost unrecognizable. It's like I'm just running a complete different business. It's the same business, but I'm just 1% a day is over 300%. That's 3 times better over a year.
Yeah.
Over 3-4 years, that's you're 10 times, you're 1,000% better. It's unrecognisable.
What do you do then for your routine?
I don't really have a routine, to be honest. I just...
Yeah, but you train a lot now.
Are you talking about my physical, personal?
Yeah, I feel like everything, because it goes in hand, like with your physical, like it goes in with your capabilities of doing better, you know, like your non-negotiable. So for me, I would I do yoga. That's my non-negotiable 4 times a week, and it helps me for relax the mind, reduce stress level. So like, what do you do for your non-negotiables? Do you do your workout in the morning, then you crack on the computer?
I don't really have any negotiables. I just do what needs to be done every day.
Oh, that's amazing.
Business first, do what needs to be done.
Yeah.
If something needs to get done, I get it done. So in terms of habits,
yeah,
my habitual things, like for example, right, I have a fitness coach. Comes around my house every morning. So generally speaking, habitually, the first hour of the day, for about 7:30, the first hour or so, I'm training in the gym. I'm doing some cardio, I'm doing some boxing, I'm doing something every day. However, if I need to go to if I need to go out to Manchester for a couple of days for a crisis with one of our sites or something, then it's not a non-negotiable, because I'll message my coach and I'll say, "Sos, I'm not around for a couple of days. Business comes first. I just do what needs to get done." But then I've got my habits. Like intermittent fasting is a habit.
Yeah.
Eat between 12 o'clock and 7 o'clock, 7 hours a day. Now I might break that occasionally, but that's my default setting. When I wake up in the morning, I wake up, my coach is there ready to train me. So as long as as long as I'm not doing anything, as long as I'm not out the country, or that's just my natural default setting. I think having default settings, positive default settings, and then also in terms of motivation, environment is everything. So
of course,
if your motivation won't last, but if you change your environment and say, these are going to be my friends now, this is my environment, this is my coach, this is where I'm going to live. If you change your environment, then suddenly, even if you will want to work, because now I can't let him beat me.
No,
I can't let my three friends, they're all growing and doing stuff. I can't not. Whereas if you're around bums trying to get the motivation, you're in the wrong environment.
Yeah.
Change your environment and everything will change. It's like when people tell me that they're shy. I'm a bit shy. You're not shy. I've seen you when you're at a private party where you know everybody. You're the life and soul. You're shy when you're put in an environment where you're around strangers and people are judging you. And because of the environment, now you're shy. And in the same way, I see some people that aren't rich, and I know that if I plunge them, pulled them out of their crappy environment where they've got negative spouses, told you it wouldn't work, what are you doing, pull them out of that. And if they were living with me for a week and they're around my team, my friends, my business acquaintances, they'd suddenly absolutely shine. It's like if a flower in your house is dying, you don't blame the plant, you put it into the sunshine, you water it, you change its environment.
Yeah.
So people need to change their environment.
Well, do you know what? I saw this thing on YouTube, and it was about this one person, and he was in a group, and he was very negative, and they saw a massive performance decrease, over 35%. So that one person can actually affect the whole team.
Even a song. If you listen to a negative song or a depressing song, it can change your mood, change your energy, change your results. That's just a song. That's just some instruments.
But that's to do with frequency, though, Samuel.
But think about the frequency of people. If you're around negative people telling you, why are you doing that? What are you doing? And they're all negative. It's gonna be worse than a song. Yeah. That's gonna pull you to the pits of hell.
Literally, and especially what they watch as well.
Yeah.
TV. If it's negative, you're subconsciously having that in your brain.
What would you describe as negative TV, though?
Well, I mean, murder's always around. You know, that's like murder, like rapist. You know.
Oh my goodness!
I'm being honest, right? So you see that negative.
I do watch crime. I do like watching crime.
I do like watching crime, but I've seen there's a massive rise in incels. Do you know what incel is?
No.
So it's involuntary celibate.
Is that what I was watching? Even just last night, I was watching. What's it called? Adolescence.
Oh, I saw that. Is that some? Yeah.
And they're talking about incel in there.
Incel. So basically, it's involuntary celibacy for lads, right? So there's a massive
involuntary. That means that they
haven't chose. They don't want to be virgins. Okay. They don't want to be virgins.
Right.
And there's a massive increase with that because of, online dating is sort of skewered the modern world and the aspect, right? So what happens is there's a massive community of angry men, right?
Yeah,
So
right.
they've and this is what was really bad. Like the perception of an incel, it was absolutely mad because I thought the way they view chads. So a chad in an incel term is a good-looking guy, six-pack, can get all the women, and that they haven't even got a chance because their mind is so skewed because of
Right.
online.
They just get offline and start going to events and networking and be
Well,
around
that's
people.
the thing. They won't because they're so petrified of
Right.
social anxiety.
Well, they need a mentor or something. These kids need some help.
I know, and that's the thing. And I thought when I saw all this drama,
No, there's anything wrong with being virgin. I mean,
No,
that's a good thing.
That's a great
Save
thing.
yourself,
If you're
you know?
save yourself,
Yeah.
absolutely. But they see women as a problem, and they see chads the problem because they only think top tier
Who's
man.
Chad? Oh, Chad.
Chads is like the six
Man,
pack man.
I don't even understand what
but
you're talking about.
It's a whole nother world. And I thought when you're watching stuff like that, and there's a massive every year it's growing over 100%. And I thought this is affecting the younger generation.
Yeah, but do you know what though? People need to be, rather than thinking about trying to get laid or trying to impress people, they need to think about personal development.
Yeah.
And this is even with myself, right? I remember when I was single, I remember thinking, in fact, I think it might be my mom actually who did this. I can't remember. Shout out to my mom anyway, because she's awesome. But I was single, Christian. And I was thinking, you know what? Maybe I'm ready for love. And I wrote down a list of everything that I'd want in a partner. What they want to be like, how they would be, their characteristics. And then I thought, right, instead of me writing down actually what I want in a partner and looking for that person, let me write down now, who would that person, that dream, visionary, amazing woman, who would they want to be with? Oh, they'd want to be with somebody that's got good character, someone that's kind, someone that's financially stable, someone that's, okay, now let me become that person.
Yeah.
And let me attract the kind of person I'm looking for. So now I'm not looking for that woman. Now I'm becoming the kind of man that will attract that woman.
Yeah, but not many people have got that mindset, Samuel.
Yeah, but this is what they need.
Yeah,
this is what
absolutely.
Personal development.
Oh yeah.
I think that will solve everything. The best gift you can give to anybody is your personal development, and the better you become, the richer you'll become, and the less problems you'll have, and everything gets better when you get better.
Absolutely, because I've read your book. Me and Brad have read your book, The Future of Money.
Right.
Absolutely, it's an absolute banger. What made you write that book? Why?
Because it was all stuff that I'd been talking about for years that was in my head, and I just thought, why don't I just put it pen to paper? It took me 4 days to write that book, and it's now a bestseller. It's sold tens of thousands of copies, but it's just stuff that needs to be out there.
I've definitely, especially when you've spoken about the World Economic Forum,
Right?
the Great Reset, cashless society, especially like cryptocurrency. Not many people are very, they're like, oh, crypto's fake money,
Everything's fake money.
Everything, it gets printed all the time.
What is money? Money is just a medium of exchange.
Yeah.
So how is cryptocurrency, how is Bitcoin any more fake than cash? In fact, Bitcoin, there's a capped amount of whereas paper money, they're printing billions and billions every year, so it's losing value. Unlike Bitcoin,
I know, it's all going up. It's the only currency that's gone up since 2007 it came out. It was like £200 or something, or less than that when you could buy it. Yeah. But to the point
like
is,
2008.
Was it 2000? Yeah,
thereabouts.
Something like that. Yeah. But the point is, your book speaks a lot about what people are not ready for. And do you see, like, people are very...
Yeah,
they're not ready for it. They don't want to believe that we're going into... Even though we can see it around in the shops and everything, we can see cashless societies pretty much and everything. And you're like... For me, when I was reading that book, I thought, I knew about this. I knew this when we were back in pandemic, COVID. We're probably going to get like banned for this. But anyway, talking about the pandemic and... the way like houses, taxis are, especially when you're trying to tell everyone about having not just having houses, but also talking about investing in the right places. And I think that's a really key point.
Houses are one of the hardest things that the government can take. Now, they can ultimately take anything. I mean, they can take your life. They can put you in prison. Ultimately, nothing. Everything on this earth is leasehold. We come in with nothing, we leave with nothing. So you can't bagsy anything per se, but... cash is probably the most dangerous thing. They can freeze your bank.
Yeah.
They can. I mean, even now, people are trying to make a transaction. Oh, I want to pay for this program, or I want to pay for this investment, or I want to do this £5,000, £10,000, and the banks will say, "Oh, block. What's that exactly? It's a payment for a service that I want. Tell us more.
Yeah.
Come down to the bank. Where we think it's a bit suspicious. So we've frozen your account for what the heck? If you go to the bank and you say, "Can I make a withdrawal? Can I get 10 grand?"
You
And
can't do
even
that.
if you've got £1 million in the bank, they can't give it to you.
No.
They can't. So people think, save up money and put it safe in the bank. What? Where they can close you down
Yeah.
for no reason. They can freeze your account.
Mm-hmm.
They can trap your money. They can stop you. It's just absolutely, it's a shambles, actually.
Like, I don't believe in having money in the bank at all.
Well,
to a certain extent, like when I've got all my debits coming out and everything,
yeah, I've
got to have that.
Yeah, you need some because like for instance, for myself, I've got staff and stuff, so I need a float.
Yeah, I need a float, but I'm not going to I would never put money in savings.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that to me is absolutely
I agree.
mind-boggling. Like
I agree.
savings, I'm like,
I agree.
mate.
Yeah, you, at the moment, the way the world works right now, and it's going to change, is that if you've got no money in your bank, it's difficult just to purchase things because most people won't accept physical cash. They won't accept gold. We do.
Yeah.
Someone actually, I had a tenant and I've had a client that paid me in physical gold.
That's good.
A tenant paid me in gold.
Well, going back to the old days, you used to be able to.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But generally speaking, the medium of exchange is, in this country, is the Great British Pound. But the Great British Pound, I believe, is going to be reset. I believe that it will be crashed to zero. And I believe that there'll be a new currency which will be on the blockchain.
Yeah.
And that's the way that it's going.
It's
and the
going
blockchain
to be
will be completely...
Bitcoin, from what I've been
Well,
told.
they've talked about... I mean, in China, they're doing this heavily. They've talked about it in the UK. Rishi Sunak was pushing for Bitcoin.
Yeah.
So, yeah, at some point, they will create a digitalized government-backed currency that will be on the blockchain, and then they'll make it in the same way that they've made it difficult to use physical cash. They'll make it difficult to use, and they'll just print so much money that cash will crash to nothing, and everything will be now on this, and then you'll have to be a very good boy or good girl, otherwise they'll just block it, freeze it.
Yeah, because that's going into your like social credit score.
Yeah.
Like everything's going to be down to your carbon emissions as well. The economic social governance. That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to put the social credit score with your money. Everything can be digitalized, and if you don't follow this carbon footprint, that's it. You're going to be. That's it. You can't do anything.
Yeah.
That's the most.
You're a nomad. You know, I mean, Nigel Farage, for example, who's the leader of Reform, and you might not like him. You might think Nigel Farage is all kind of things, but they closed his bank down, and for a time, no other bank in Britain would open up a bank. So effectively, he can't do anything. He can't. He can't buy. He can't sell. He's got no bank.
Yeah.
And in the end, he managed to get a bank, but at one point, he was thinking about maybe he's forced out of the country, because if they close your finances, if they cut your oxygen, how can you live?
So what would you do then? How could we prepare for that? For people who don't want to put the money in the banks, and also with all this is all coming. I know it's in your book, right? About how to prepare yourself for the inevitable. But for the viewers out there who haven't read your book, how could they prepare?
Yeah, well, the first thing is to not panic, because worrying never helped anything. Nothing was ever cured by panicking. So don't panic. Live in today and enjoy today. However, don't panic, but do prepare. And how you should prepare, there's a few ways. Number one is, I think that you should start buying and owning a lot of properties, because I think that it's very, very, very difficult for the government to take properties off of you. How can they legitimately say, like with things like Bitcoin, they can ban it?
Yeah.
They have in many countries.
Yes, they have.
Even gold. In America, they banned gold for quite a lot, for a number of years, not that long ago. So they can ban things, but owning a property, I can't see how they could ban you. What they do to try and stop normal people owning property is they tax the crap out of you. But there's always loopholes, because the rich people own property. And what I believe that we're on the last cycle of ordinary people being able to own homes. I know that BlackRock are investing billions of pounds into UK residential property. Lloyds Bank are publicly saying that they want to be the largest private landlords in Britain, and their goal is to have 50,000 homes. All these big enterprises and corporate companies are, ironically, the ones that tell us not to invest in property, because Lloyds Bank will say, "Oh no, it's too risky. We're not going to give you a loan," and then they're doing it. It's ironic, isn't it? But I think that what's going to happen is all the homes are going to get bought up by the corporations. They're going to take properties off of the small-time landlords by taxing them, and they don't understand the tax laws. So I think buy properties, understand the tax laws, and rent them out. And then even if they crash the Great British Pound to zero, that house is still valuable. Somebody will still need to live in that house. So you can take gold, you can take silver, you can take food, you can take whatever the latest cryptocurrency is on the blockchain. If you've got properties, you have a tangible asset that is fixed to the floor, that is valuable. Houses are not going to go out of fashion.
No.
So I think own properties. And the second thing is to learn how to make a lot of cash. Because if you can make a lot of cash now, a lot of money, you can put some in gold, some in Bitcoin, some in properties, but make a lot of money, become valuable, and own a lot of houses. I think that's, after spending years researching and speaking to some of the most successful people on the planet, many billionaires that I've spoken to on this subject that would never speak out in public, but I will say what I want to say is I think that is the best solution. And to be happy, to be fit, healthy, happy, have good circles, have good friends and family, and think critically. Don't be a sheep that just believes everything. The media, the newspapers, I think are the most corrupt entity on the planet.
Oh, it's negative.
But it's not just negative.
Brainwashing, though.
It's not just negative and brainwashing. Denzel Washington says it very interestingly. Denzel Washington said, if you don't watch the news, if you don't read the newspapers, you are uninformed. But if you do, you're misinformed.
Yeah.
So what's the solution? What's the answer? And that's the question. And I think the answer is to, like, where I get my news from is I've got some very smart specialists, lawyers, brokers, finance directors, chartered accountants, and I'll get my news from them. So there's a budget going on. I won't be listening to what the newspapers are saying on that. I'll be watching it, and then I'll be speaking to my solicitor, my accountant, and go, what do you think? What's going on? What's happening? So I'm not watching the news. I'm not being brainwashed because it is biased. It is brainwashing. It is wrong, and it is corrupt.
Yeah. What do you think about the Renters Reform Bill coming out in April?
To be honest, I don't really think it's a terrible thing. I think that tenants we're in a cost of living crisis. There's a lot of people that are really struggling financially, and the last thing you want to be worried about as a tenant is, oh my gosh, I can't pay my rent and I'm going to be on the streets next week. So I think having rights. Also, I mean, the main thing with the tenants renters reform bill that's coming in really is the fact that you won't be able to serve Section 21 no fault evictions. But to be honest, if a tenant's there and they're paying rent, I would never want to evict a good tenant paying rent. So I'm not really against no fault eviction bans, to be perfectly honest. I think that it's quite annoying when landlords evict a tenant just because they want to. And I mean, but you can still serve a Section 8. You'll still be able to get rid of a tenant. If a tenant's not paying rent, you can get rid of them if they're 2 months in arrears. If you're having to sell the house, or if you need to move back into the house, you can still get rid of them. What they're stopping is landlords being unreasonable. And I think that's a fair thing. But most of my properties these days aren't tenants anyway. I have guests on short stay lets. I have hotels. I have guests. I have serviced accommodation units. I'm a developer, so I don't see myself as a buy-to-let landlord. I am a buy-to-let landlord, but that's not where the main chunk of my money comes in. It comes in from my developments, from my guests, from my hotels.
Yeah. So what do you think about then with the, when they say about Section 21, because I was speaking to my agent who I get my properties off, and he was like, it's not come in yet, Jem. They've been talking about it for years, about abolishing Section 21. I said to him, do you think because they always talk about it, do you think it will ever happen? Or is it always like a little threat?
I mean, it's not. Well, it's a little bit like I don't know if you know about the EPC, but they said, years ago, they said, from 2025, we're bringing in new EPC regulations where all properties will need to have an EPC rating of C. Now, what that means is, if your EPC rating is a D or an E, now you're going to need to spend money on the property. You're going to need to make it more energy efficient. You need to get solar panel windows. You need to get extra insulation. You need to get triple glazed windows, all this stuff. So what happened was everyone panicked and everyone spent thousands of pounds on their properties. And then they said, actually, it's going to be 2028. Right? So then they said, actually, we're not going to do it at all. Then they said, actually, no, we are. But
It's just like, it's 1 minute yes, 1 minute no. There's no clarity.
Absolute okie cokey. And also people get really upset with Labour. Oh, Labour with the renters reform bill. That was Conservative, actually. In fact, most of the nonsense. Section 24 tax, renters reform bill, scrapping no fault evictions. All this was actually brought in by the Conservatives. So, you know, Conservatives, they're all just bad. Do
you know what? Like with any government, and what I can't even seem to get my head around is when people believe the government that are actually doing good for the people. They're not. Just putting it out there. You're not.
Well, it's very nuanced, and it's very. I mean, there's good and bad in every organisation, everything. But the government, the most scary thing the government can say is, "We're going to help you."
Yeah, but that's the thing, though. They're not going to help you.
No, you need to take personal responsibility. And this is again going back to Gary Economics saying, "Oh, we need to tax the rich and we need to change the government." We need to, even if he was right, how long is that going to take? Decades, maybe. Like you can't rely on the government changing. You can't wait for the economy to change. You must learn to change your own economy and to create your own world, your own bubble. And even in the worst times, like in the lockdown times, and everyone was struggling, everyone was stressed, and lots of businesses were going bust. Jeff Bezos wasn't.
No.
You know, all of the big companies, they actually massively benefited from it. And there was other companies that suffered for a few months and then pivoted and benefited as well. Like my company, we suffered for a bit and then we pivoted. So you've just got to create your own economy and not be too obsessed with what's going on in the world. Create your own world.
You know, when you say about create your own world, I think so many people, and I was saying it to John as well, like everyone's so, and even Sean, like everyone's so fixated on what everyone else is doing, but they don't really concentrate on that personal growth where they need to actually develop and elevate themselves. And that's the problem. And it's like, and education is out there. Do you know that if you really want to change, you can actually educate yourself. You got YouTube. There's so much content on YouTube that you can actually learn for free. And it's not like again, you said about self-development, taking personal responsibility. Not many people will actually do that, though. It's only a small minority. How do you think that's true? Like, do you think...
Oh, yeah, no, I went to a football game. My boy asked me, can we go watch the football match? So I took him. And I'm not really into football. I can't even remember who we went to watch, to be perfectly honest. But we were at this football game. And it was really interesting because everyone was so psyched for the players, cheering, and then we lost, and then they were all sad, and we were losing at, I say we, I don't know who we are, but at half time we were losing, and in the break everyone was all depressed, and then we came back and some of the fans were shouting at the footballers, just do this, and I'm thinking, why is your deal? Like, I get maybe wanting to enjoy watching some sports, but being so invested in someone else's business, in someone else's game, it's not your game. They say we, it's not we. If your team wins, it's not your team. You don't make money.
No.
Right. So why are you more excited about that team winning that you call us and we and my team? Right. Why are you so invested in that, but you're not invested about your own business? That doesn't make sense.
No.
If you've got the energy to go and cheer at a football match, then you should have that same energy to go and smack the phones, to go into estate agents, to go and champion yourself and go and get investment from investors and say, look, this is what I'm about. Like, why are you more passionate about some 19-year-old kids running around with a ball? Like, to me, it doesn't make any, no longer watching football. No, it's fine. But if you're more excited about the game than you're about your game of business and your game of life, then you need to really reassess your entire life and your entire existence.
Do you know what? I've seen that so many people get so affected. Like, oh my God, I can't believe I've lost. I'm like, are they paying your bills?
Exactly.
Like, are they actually paying your bills? No, they're not. Like, so why are you letting it affect you? Like, literally ruin your day over what?
It's ridiculous.
It's absolutely. But do you know what? Back onto your training programs that you do and everything, and I've seen it in the comment sections. A couple of people said it's all scams. How do you feel about that? In terms of when you see it on YouTube that your courses that you sell are all scams and everything.
But who said that?
There's quite a few people on the YouTube. You know when
name one of them.
Oh, I can get my phone.
Yeah, the point is, the point is, depending, you need to look at who's saying what. So if someone says Samuel Leeds, you're a scammer. Okay, well, who's saying that? Oh, JP4716 with an anonymous account. Okay. Now, if let's take the extreme example. If my wife said, Samuel, I think you're a scammer. Right. I'd be like, oh my gosh. Even if someone that had been a customer or so for me, it's very much about, well, who's saying it? So when you say, how do I feel about it? If I felt something towards an anonymous person saying something ridiculous online, if that made me feel a certain way, then that would mean that I'm not really that secure in myself. I'm very secure in my business, in my wealth, I've got a very, very successful business.
Yeah.
I make millions of pounds every year. I've got thousands of customers who are very, very, very happy. So how do you feel about what some anonymous... Now, if it's a customer that said it, now I'd actually feel a certain way. If I got a bad review from a genuine customer that said, I went on the course, it was terrible.
Yeah.
Now, or if I had an investor that said, oh, I invested in Samuel's deal and I'm not happy with the returns. Now I'm going to be like, oh man, now I will feel a certain way. But I'm not going to feel a certain way about someone saying something that won't even... When I do a debate and say, come and challenge me, and no one comes, if they're not prepared to come and actually speak with me and sit down with me, if they haven't actually invested in any of my programs, if they haven't actually invested in me or my deals then I don't feel any way about what anybody says. I only care about what my customers, my staff, my church, my family, myself, God. These are the people that I care about, not like, oh, someone said on Instagram once on an anonymous account. Okay, cool.
It's part of the game though, isn't
it? It just doesn't affect me in the slightest.
That's amazing. Well, you can't though, can it? Because when I see it as well, it's like, I don't know, like Jacob 456, Samuel Leeds is a scammer, and I thought, and there's like, you get like mini trolls back, like literally commenting on it, and I'm just like,
oh yeah,
and it's just like little tiny.
They
don't even have a picture. They don't even have a picture as well.
Come and have a conversation with me.
Yeah.
Tell me, I'm here.
They won't, will they?
No.
They're like keyboard warriors. We're in a generation of keyboard warriors.
They're probably incels.
You know what? It wouldn't surprise me at all.
They're upset.
Yeah.
They see me do my thing and then, yeah.
It's like, oh, can't handle it.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
So, on that bombshell, with like what you do with property and everything, especially with the Great Reset, cryptocurrency, how you've actually built your empire, because you've built an absolute massive empire. Like, you got your own Samuel Leeds finance. You're doing Islamic finance. So, like, it's what you've done is... It's phenomenal. It really, truly is. I'll give you that.
I appreciate it.
It really is truly phenomenal. What are the 5 tips that you can share with the viewers and everyone at home? How can they start their property journey? And also, what do they need to do to prepare? Obviously, you touched on it before, like buy property, invest, but what if it isn't about property? Could they do anything about social media, about their brand or marketing?
Yeah. I think the first thing is to decide what you want. So what do I want my life to look like? Do I want to be, if it's social media, okay, do I want a big social media following? Do I want a big property business? Do I want to leave my job? What do I want? And then when you know what you want, then say, okay, well, why do I want it? Okay, I want to be a millionaire property investor. Okay, why? And spend time on that. Don't just say, oh, because it'd be good. Like, no, why? Why? How would my life change? Why do I really want this? Because it's got to burn. Success doesn't come by mistake. Nothing's easy in life. It's got to burn. You've got to have a strong reason. So, okay, this is what I want. This is why I want it. Next, who? Who do I know that's got it? Who do I know that's doing it? Who do I know that's already achieved that? Okay, good. Next, where? Where are they and when can I meet them?
Yeah.
And then finally, work. Follow the template. You know what you want. You know why you want it. You know who's doing it. You know where they are. Go find them. Sit with them. Make a plan. Plan it. Do it. Review it. Execute. Execution is everything.
It's so true, though. You've got to be in the right environments. You've got to have that burning desire, and you've got to, like, because some people will only have this why for a very short reason. Like, oh yeah, I want to help this. I want to help my family out. But you can do that, but they don't have the longevity. Like when I was saying to you earlier, it's about discipline and consistency. Motivation can only last for so long. Like whether you want to, like the discipline is whether you want to do it when you don't want to do it. That's the true test of form. Like literally, if you don't, like even in the days, like, I don't want to have a cold shower, I've got to have a cold shower. Those are the ones that make up the most, for that. And I see the habits and the patterns of like self-made multimillionaires like yourself and Sean and John. you've got those 5 reasons of doing it. And I just want to say thank you for sharing
Oh,
it.
thanks. Well, thanks for having me on.
No, you're
Appreciate
amazing.
you.
Seriously.
Keep it up, man. Who are you getting on next?
I don't know. I'm gonna
If you need me to help hook you up with anybody, let me know and I'll try my best.
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Welcome.
You're amazing.